Are you there? There you are. Okay.
Are they going to do the tribute? I guess I should just go. Oh, there's the tribute.
Yeah.
Good morning and welcome. My name is Sarah Lenzi, and I'm the minister of the Unitarian Society of Ridgewood and part of the team that helps bring services to life each Sunday, a team for which I am extremely grateful. For over a century, the Unitarian Society of Ridgewood has been gathering in community as a home for liberal faith and free thinking. Ours is a faith based on shared promises. We don't demand any particular beliefs about God and the cosmos, but we do believe in the interdependent unity of all existence, and we do believe that healing love is accessible to us all. Here in this community, we celebrate each person, whatever their gender, sexual orientation, age, education, history, race, ethnicity, economic status, physical or mental health, or theology. If this is your first time visiting one of our Sunday services, we are so glad you have found us this morning, and welcome. Please consider staying for our virtual coffee hour. It's a great way to connect with small groups of folks. And if you'd like to learn more about us, please fill out the Google form that will be dropped into the chat, or you can always email the office at 113cottage@gmail.com or visit our website, uuridgewood.org. A quick reminder, I put it in the chat as well, to keep sending in mittens and hats and scarves for our mitten tree that you see Kristen decorating each Sunday morning. We're collecting through the end of December, and then they'll be donated. So please remember to do that if you are inclined. We have this morning a special announcement from our board president. I'm going to invite Dawn to speak.
Good morning. Jeff Kagan asked me to make an announcement for you guys. He dropped off the announcement. He doesn't have the best handwriting. He would like me to discuss how important it is for everyone to sell the waffle tickets. Everyone needs to sell some waffle tickets. I don't think it should be that hard. People love waffles. I'm going to have some shortly after service. They're $100, seems like a lot for waffles, but it's really crucial to our financial well-being as an organization. We're not really asking you to buy waffles or waffle tickets, but we will be asking you to sell them. And if we don't sell enough, then we kind of will be asking you to buy them. And Jeff goes on to say that if we don't sell enough, he's going to be really pissed off. Hold on. Oh no, he wants us to sell raffle tickets. And if we don't sell enough, he's going to be really, well, never mind. Raffle tickets, not waffle tickets. We are all struggling, just like any small business. The board has the position of looking at the Unitarian Society of Ridgewood as a business, and we do struggle, and we do have to pay our bills, and we do need money to come in to keep our doors open. And the raffle is one way that we are hoping will help us alleviate our budget problems this year. So please, it's important for everyone to try and sell some raffle tickets. Maybe we'll do waffles in the new year. I don't know. If everyone sells a few, then nobody needs to sell a whole bunch. We're a collective group, and we would ask everyone to make an effort to sell a handful of raffle tickets, not waffle tickets. That's all for me, except I'm going to tell Jeff to learn to write more clearly.
Thank you, Dawn. I have a couple of reminders, announcements, so bear with me. First is, hopefully you have seen the emails about Silent Night for Christmas Eve. I'm hoping that many, in my dream world, every single one of you will do this. It's really simple. You pop in your headphones and you listen to Kristen singing and you sing along and record yourself singing along. Don't be daunted. I do not sing very well. I'm going to have to drop octaves in the middle, and I'm still going to do it because it's not about perfection. It's about having us all recorded. In a normal year, on Christmas Eve, we sing together Silent Night in the candlelit darkness. And it is one of the most moving experiences of the year for me, because I get to look out at all of your faces and hear your voices raised as one. So please do your best to participate in this with us so that we can have something of that experience together this strange Christmas Eve. And then I need to mention one other thing, which is, you may have seen in the chat, there are bags from the Unitarian Society of Ridgewood being dropped off for you. In it, you'll find some seasonal goodies, a little note from us, and some things that you'll need for Christmas Eve service next Thursday. If you don't receive a bag by Tuesday, or if you received it but you need extra candles, please contact the office, contact Anne, our congregational administrator. Her email is going to be dropped into the chat. You can always call too. And remember that our Christmas Eve service of carols and readings will begin next Thursday at 4:30 with a half an hour of music. and then the service begins at 5 p.m. We really hope that you will join us. And we are so glad that you are with us this morning.
Good morning, everyone. This is Jean Namitz. And we come to our Advent wreath. Around the world, folks light Advent wreaths on the 4 Sundays before Christmas. This year, we will do the same, and our Advent wreath will stand as our chalice. So the first candle symbolizes faith, and we light it with these words: "This winter, may faith be kindled in us." Not naive commitment, but deep and abiding faith in the power of human care, in community and creation, in the holy that abides in each of us. Our second candle symbolizes hope, and we light it with these words: "This winter, may hope be kindled in us." Not passive optimism, but active and determined hope that shines as a beacon, as a flame in the darkness, warding off despair and lighting the way. Our third candle symbolizes joy, and we light it with these words: "This winter, may joy be kindled in us." Not ignorant happiness, but honest and soulful joy that erupts unexpectedly, even amidst challenge and sorrow, lightening our hearts with laughter. Our fourth candle symbolizes peace. We light it with these words: "This winter, may peace be kindled in us." Not thoughtless complacency, but cultivated and nurtured peace, born from hearts and souls that have carefully embraced what is and found solace.
Come, take a deep breath. Winter is a time for stillness, for quiet, and for darkness. Breathe and listen, like a church bell tolling, like a meditation gong ringing, like birds honking as they soar through the sky. Our sound echoes into the still, quiet darkness. A call to presence, a call to witness, a call to this moment, right now, right here. Breathe deeply and listen.
Our opening words are by Joan Goodwin. These words invite us to honor all that is and to open our hearts to this season of change.
Spirit of the East, spirit of air, of morning and springtime, be with us as the sun rises in times of beginning. times of planting. Inspire us with the fresh breath of courage as we go forth into new adventures.
Spirit of the South, Spirit of fire, of noontime and summer, be with us through the heat of the day and help us to be ever growing. Warm us with strength and energy for the work that awaits us.
Spirit of the West, Spirit of water, of evening and autumn, be with us as the sun sets and help us to enjoy a rich harvest. Flow through us with a cooling, healing quietness and bring us peace.
Spirit of the North, Spirit of earth, of nighttime and winter, be with us in the darkness, in the time of gestation. Ground us in the wisdom of the changing seasons as we celebrate the spiraling journey of our lives. With the four directions, the four seasons, the four elements of life invited in and gathered close, mindful of this special moment in the changing cycle of nature, aware that this is one of those times of the year when the lines between day and night, between matter and spirit, between light and darkness are blurry. We gather together this morning.
Please join me in singing our hymn, Dark of Winter. The words will be on your screen. Dark of winter, soft and still, your quiet calm surrounds me. Let my thoughts go where they will, ease my mind profoundly, and then my soul will sing a song, a blessed song of love eternal. Gentle darkness, soft and still, bring your quiet to me. Darkness, soothe my weary eyes, that I may see more clearly. When my heart with sorrow cries, comfort and caress me. And when my soul may hear a voice, a still small voice of love eternal. Darkness, when my fears arise, let your peace flow through me.
Good morning again. Today, I have with me my wonder box. A wonder box holds all kinds of wonderful, surprising things. It's a kind of show and tell for exploration. I can hear things in here. There is definitely something in this box. Here's my favorite holiday ornament. And if you notice, as it rocks back and forth, the horse head bobs and the tail goes up and down. I love it. But there is something else in my wonder box. It's a globe. Can everybody see that? It's a globe, and you can see the continents and the countries all around it. So I get to hold as a globe the world in my hands. This time of year, the sun and the earth move in a way that creates shorter days and the longer nights. And so today we celebrate, and tomorrow, December 21st, we celebrate the winter solstice, the shortest day and the longest night of the year. So I have two questions for you. Why do the days have to get so dark so early? And why do we celebrate the coming of the light when darkness is all around us? Let's watch a short video that explains this wonder.
Imagine a world like ours that revolves around its star like this. This would be a planet with weather, but no seasons, no variation in the length of days, no polar night, no midnight sun. A world much less beautiful, much less dramatic than ours. But our planet is a little off. The Earth actually revolves around our sun at an angle. And it's this tilt that gives us summer and winter, spring and fall. For those of us who live in the northern hemisphere, December days are short and cold. The sun seems early to bed and late to rise. But that's not because the sun is moving, it's because we're moving. When we're in winter, it's not that our part of the planet is further from the sun. The sun's rays just fall on us less directly. While our days are at their darkest, our friends in the southern hemisphere are down there enjoying their sunniest season. Well, down isn't really the right word. The Earth is just a rock revolving around a star, and there is no up or down in space. Around December 21st, the days are as long and bright in the southern hemisphere as they ever get, and just as short and dark in the northern hemisphere. The solstices are the moments when winter and summer reach their climax and begin to fall back towards each other. By about June 21st, they've changed places. The northern hemisphere bakes in the summer sun late into the evening, and the southern hemisphere shivers in its longest night. If you're near the equator, you may not notice any change at all. But as you get closer to the poles, the change in length of days gets more and more extreme. All over the planet, our distant ancestors recognized this pattern. Civilizations from the Babylonians to the Druids to the Maya created rituals and in many cases built grand temples to mark the solstices. For them, this was sacred. The movement of the earth around the sun is tried and true. You can depend on it. Even in the darkest moments of the coldest nights, we can rest assured that the light and the warmth of the summer will make their way back to us in time.
So, why do the days get dark so early? Well, we know now. The sun and the earth, they move together with the light of the sun moving across the earth, creating the seasons. And the winter solstice gives us the opportunity to hold both the light and the darkness at the same time. And we know that after tomorrow, the days are going to get longer and the nights shorter. So why do we celebrate the coming of the light when darkness is all around us? Well, we know all around the world. The coming of light is celebrated on the shortest day of the year. We have faith that the light will return. And while we are in darkness these days, we practice holding the light and the darkness together. Here's a poem about holding both the light and the darkness. Days lengthen in time and in hope for us all. Behold the light sought as foretold. Born from the dark, the world seeks the light. Exploding in love, exploding the night. The womb of darkness, the birth of light, teach us to hold both in our sight the embrace of the dark as we gather and learn. The breath of the light as we live what we've learned. And finally, I close with a prayer about darkness and the light. In this time of darkness and light, may we hold the world in our hearts. In this time of darkness and light, may we hold each other's hands. In this time of darkness and light, may we be thoughtful and introspective. And today, tomorrow, this shortest day of the year, may we delight in the darkness and all it teaches us. And in this time of both darkness and light, may we rekindle the fires of hope, love, joy, and peace within ourselves. And here at USR, amen.
Good morning. I'm Don Campolo, a member of the Board of Trustees. Every Sunday that we gather, we ask for an offering to support the work of this congregation. Our mission here at USR is to grow in mind and spirit, to act with love for justice, and to transform ourselves and the world. This work never stops, and it is work that must be supported by our time, our talents, and our material support. Thanks for being part of this community and bringing your open hearts and open minds, along with your helping hands and your generous offerings. You can make this community what it is and ensure that the work of this congregation can continue for generations to come. On your screen, you'll see the instructions on how to give. Every contribution helps us to create a more welcoming and better world for all. This is the season for giving generously. And just a short plug for the raffle. We're not a closed shop. We do a lot for the outside world, ranging from influencing legislation, volunteering, and giving material support to various causes. So when you approach your friends, relatives, and coworkers about the raffle, there's a lot you can talk up about why the society deserves outside support and help. The offering will now be given and gratefully received.
Das Christkind ward zur Welt gebracht, das uns von der Himmel
first reading this morning is a poem titled The Longest Night by Jan Richardson, who is a poet, artist, and ordained Methodist minister. The Longest Night. All throughout these months, as the shadows have lengthened, this blessing has been gathering itself, making ready, preparing for this night. It has practiced walking in the dark, traveling with its eyes closed, feeling its way by memory, by touch, by the pull of the moon, even as it wanes. So believe me when I tell you, this blessing will reach you, even if you have not light enough to read it. It will find you, even though you cannot see it coming. You will know the moment of its arriving by your release of the breath you have held so long. A loosening of the clenching in your hands, of the clutch around your heart, a thinning of the darkness that had drawn itself around you. This blessing does not mean to take the night away, but it knows its hidden roads, knows the resting spots along the path, knows what it means to travel in the company of a friend. So when the blessing comes, take its hand. Get up. Set out on the road you cannot see. This is the night when you can trust that any direction you go, you will be walking toward the dawn. Every Sunday when we come together, we make special time in our service for silence and for acknowledging the hard and glorious stuff of our own lives and the world at large. We do this because we know that normally our lives afford precious little time for stillness, for silence or reflection, and because we know that these things are necessary to the health of our hearts and minds and souls. These pandemic days, we also know that for many of us, the stillness and silence can be overwhelming, relentless, and that we crave companionship and witness, even at a distance. Being together in this time of intentional reflection and meditation and prayer helps to strengthen our ties to each other, even when we can't sit side by side. This morning, I invite you into a guided meditation that will contain within it time to sit with the moment we find ourselves in. And so as we begin to settle into our seats, into our spaces, and to breathe deeply, first, I invite all of us to remember Roberta Svar, a longtime beloved member of this community, an activist, the first female mayor of Ridgewood, a wife, mother, friend, and fellow congregant. Roberta died earlier this week, and she will be sorely missed. As we take our deep breaths together, we hold her family in our hearts. Take a deep breath. Find the most comfortable position you can for your body. Maybe your hands are loosely by your sides or resting on your knees. Settle your feet on the floor. Unlock your jaw. Take a deep breath and let it out. If it's comfortable, close your eyes, or perhaps pick a spot in your space to focus on. Take a slow breath in and imagine yourself in a forest at dusk. The light is fading, the night is coming on, and you're walking through beautiful snow-dusted trees. You step slowly. With each footfall, you hear the crunch of the hardened snow. And as the night gets darker, you come to a clearing. There on the ground are rocks and branches arranged in a spiral. so big, you can barely see the center. But you enter that spiral and slowly you start to walk. Beginning on the outside, you move quietly, hearing the sounds of the forest, following the circular line, walking along the branches and stones. As you walk, the light at the center gets stronger, more clear. You keep walking, slowly, softly, getting ever closer to that spot of light at the center of the spiral. With each step you take, the light grows stronger. What is that light? Is it a star, candle, a fire burning bright? Keep moving along the path, closer and closer. And keep breathing. When you reach the middle, pause. There beside the source of light. And breathe deeply in and slowly out. Here together in the center of the spiral, we witness the light of faith, joy, hope, and peace. Here together in the center of the spiral, we give thanks for the darkness that has allowed the plants to grow in secret. We give thanks for the cold that draws us together seeking warmth. We give thanks for the darkness that calls us to look more deeply for the light. We give thanks for our continued living in this ever-changing world. Here together in the center of the spiral, we pray for strength. We pray for healing. We pray for the miracle of conquering love. Breathe deeply in and slowly out. And then imagine that you reach out your hand and you take that source of light and bring it close. Breathe it in. Swallow it. Hold it next to your heart. Make the light a part of you. Imagine your whole body glowing. Even as you set the source back down on the snowy ground. For the source is not ours to take, but to share in. Imagine that although the dark has fallen completely, you are now alive with light. As bright as, brighter even than the source at the center of the spiral. Feel yourself warm and shining and begin the walk back out. Feeling yourself aglow as you do, alive with hope and possibility. In this season of cold and darkness, may we never forget the warm light that shines within each of us. May our lights shine as blessings, as beacons in this world, leading the way to a world lit by peace and by love. So may it be. Amen.
Our second reading today is a poem for Solstice by Rilke. You darkness that I come from, I love you more than all the fires that fence in the world. For the fire makes a circle of light for everyone, and then no one outside learns of you. But the darkness pulls in everything, shapes and fire, animals and myself. How easily it gathers them, power and people. And it is possible a great energy is moving near me. I have faith in nights.
These past few days, around 3 p.m., I've taken my boys out to go sledding. The small island we live on is pretty flat, but on the campus of the relatively recently built Cornell Tech Institute, there are some hills. Each day, all day since the snow fell, friends and neighbors have made their way, bundled in warm hats and gloves, snow pants and masks, to trudge up the hills and slide back down. Green sleds, blue sleds, bright orange ones and pink ones, round sleds, ones that look like little seats with handles on them, pink ones, straight and pointed. The squeals of little children ring through the air along with the sound of whooshing plastic on snow. And under that, there's the low hum of parents talking across distance as the sun sets over the end of the island. And the sunsets have been beautiful. Crescent moon bright in the sky, Jupiter and Saturn awaiting their moment of conjunction in our eyes. Those deep reds and oranges you get in these early nightfalls of winter. The sun just gleaming on the sheets of snow. It has all felt so entirely hopeful to me. The joy of the children of all ages and the camaraderie of the grown-ups, it has felt almost like a relief. Even writing about it this week brought me a bit to tears somehow. This has been a very long year, my friends. We first shut down, you may remember, back in March, over 9 months ago, before spring had officially moved in, before the equinox brought us back to equal day and night. And here we are, about to step again into winter. As Jeannie explained earlier, winter solstice is upon us. It will occur here where we live on Monday, December 21st at 5:02 a.m. And together we will experience the shortest day of the year. And for the next little while after that, though the light will increase each day, it will do so incrementally that we're unlikely to notice. And we will dwell together in that time of increased darkness. As we stood among the snowy hills, and really hill is probably even too big a word, and the night fell clear on Friday, I looked all around. Off to the east, Queens with a power plant always aglow, the lights that brighten the walkways along the river. To the south, the East River on its way to empty into the Atlantic, boats and bridges lit for safety. To the west, the towering buildings of Manhattan, billions of lights shining in little rectangles, row after row after row. And to the north, the little lights of the island I call home, and the river rejoining after it splits around us, more bridges, more lights as far as the eye can see. I live in a place where stars are few and human ingenuity is bold, and it's never really dark. When I was in 5th grade, our entire grade, which was about 50 kids, went on a week-long trip from New York City to somewhere outside of the city. I think it was Connecticut. And it was a wilderness trip. We were not roughing it. There were cabins and running water, but it was an outdoorsy experience for us city kids. And I don't remember a lot about it, but one memory that stands out, and I always think of this time of year, was this evening walk that we took. Our group, along with our counselors, went out into the forest without flashlights, just into the darkness together. And ultimately, it was an exercise in trust. Trust in our counselor, in each other, in ourselves. I hated it. I have never liked the dark. Nighttime has always been hard for me, hardest when I was young. I had what might have bordered on this thing we call hypervigilance, a heightened sense of feeling threatened in the world. It's something you see in folks with strong anxiety or post-traumatic stress. And while I don't have either of those, I've noticed among my minister friends that hypervigilance isn't uncommon. For me, it largely activated at night. It was, if I was the last one awake, I had this sense that I had to stay awake, just in case, almost as like a watchkeeper. It might sound familiar to some of you, perhaps you experienced this. It's definitely eased as I've gotten older, but I have also learned it's not uncommon, that the primal fear of the dark is real especially among children. They worry, we worry about what's coming, about the fact that we're unsure of what's around us. As adults, sometimes we worry about the loss of time for productivity. There's all sorts of things about the dark that we struggle with. And as a result, we do our damnedest to light the darkness however we can. We have this human impulse to banish uncertainty and the hard things. And yet it wasn't all that long ago in the grand scope of human evolution that we weren't able to banish the darkness. I think often of that time before electric light. I thought just this week about what the view might have been like sledding by moonlight alone. No bright lights from the power plant and the buildings across the river. I think about how the world must have felt on these darkest nights of the year. What fear it might have bred in the people who huddled together in their shelters, but also what depth and wonder and spiritual richness must also have been there. When we attempt to banish the dark, we miss something so vital. We let ourselves forget that our very lives and this world we share is built on balance. There are so many stories across so many cultures, myths, legends, deeply held religious beliefs that speak to the darkness and the light and to the balance between the two. Their rhythm together, the love that thrives between them, because they know that without one another, there would be nothing. Ancient celebrations of this time of year celebrate light, yes, and its coming and its return that begins with the winter solstice. They celebrate light with bonfires and candles and evergreens, and now we do with twinkle lights. But those ancient traditions also celebrated the darkness itself as a bringer of reflection, mystery, time for stillness and for quiet. Though their scientific understanding was different, long ago humans understood the rhythms of the earth. They knew that plants needed time to grow, to dig their roots deep into the earth under the cover of darkness. They knew that we need time to sleep, to be still and quiet. Earth needs time to cool down, to rest and restore itself for the heat of day, for the heat of the summer. They may not have understood about the tilt and the rotations. It wasn't that long ago we believed the sun revolved around the earth. But there were deeper truths that were perhaps easier to understand when we weren't able to light every moment. And I promise I'm not trying to romanticize some pre-technology time when all was wonderful. I really do recognize that there's been immense value in our capacity to turn on a light when we want to. But I wonder sometimes, I think sometimes, that something gets lost. That there are moments when we forget how important winter is, how important the deepest dark is. And we forget because it can become overwhelming. That's the hardest moment, when it becomes overwhelming, and we all experience it in our lives. That moment when we worry that the dark will be permanent. We all have a moment when we wonder if the winter season will ever end, or if the winter we are experiencing inside ourselves will end. We've been going through such a moment together as a species for the past 9 months. And these are moments of crisis, when we think too hard about how small we are in the world and we wonder if our actions matter, when the mystic experiences the dark night of the soul and feels as if life itself is meaningless, when grief pulls at our heart so harshly we forget what joy is, when something shifts our lives so significantly that we can't ignore it and we wonder if we will ever recognize ourselves in the mirror again. When a pandemic rages and even with a vaccine in sight, we wonder if it will ever end. When we sit in the darkest night and for a moment, we fear with all our primal being that the sun won't return. There's a resonance this year, perhaps more than any I have ever known. We enter this winter having in many ways wintered too long already. Those moments of darkness when it feels too big or too real or too permanent, they can be hard to embrace. It's hard to see these times as miracles unto themselves or as gifts. And while they may not be, but how we respond to them can shift what work they do in our lives. If we run in fear or turn on the artificial light too fast, we lose an opportunity to reflect and to grow. We lose an opportunity to perhaps render those moments meaningful. We forget that there is actually hope to be found in those moments too, if we know where to look. This year, more than any, we have to not run too quickly to turn on the lights. We have to take this moment to remember hope that lives in the night. However much I hated that trip into the dark forest without flashlights, I learned something there. In my fear, I held hands with the counselor, and her sure and warm grip reminded me that I wasn't alone. Around me, my friends joked and laughed, and their confidence gave me some. Another friend and I happened to be wearing the same sweatshirt, unplanned, and that coincidence offered some sense of solidarity. There were lights in the forest, not lights in the traditional sense of the word, but reminders that even though I was alone in experiencing my fear, I wasn't actually alone. All around me, the darkness was lit by my companions, and I was reminded, too, that nothing lasts forever. I look back on this year, and amidst all the pain and the challenge, there was so much work and compassion and love. And I know I have watched, and I'm sure you have, the images of the first vaccines being given, and I can't help but well with emotion, with joy, knowing the time and dedication and sacrifice by so many that it took to get to this moment. All we need to do is look around at these last 9 months to understand that everywhere, there is light and there is hope. Many, way too many lives have been lost, and too much grief has been borne, too much pain has cut us deep. And yet, in with all of that was so much commitment and faith and hope and moments of joy. The darkness is not something to simply be chased away by Yule logs and lamps. The darkness can be a place of revelation and rebirth, though of course, we shouldn't linger there too long, all things in balance. But sometimes we have to get a little lost so that we can be found. Sometimes we have to let our flame go out so that we can be reminded of the flame in others, reminded of the love that others bear for us. Sometimes we have to stumble in the dark to remember that we have a light inside us that can outshine the sun. The cold dark of winter offers the opportunity to draw together for warmth and comfort, even at a distance. The darkness of grief and sadness offers a quiet place for healing. The darkness we see coming on in the world offers an opportunity to open our eyes, because there is a wisdom that winter brings. Winter offers us the assurance that something always lives, no matter how deeply buried under the ground it is. Something is always growing and changing beneath all that snow. Beneath all our sweaters and blankets, something is growing and changing in us that could change the world completely. Winter brings us the wisdom that the darkness doesn't last forever. The cold will pass. Winter reminds us that change is the only constant and that this is a good thing. We're not lost forever in the woods. We are able to find our way home. Out in the darkness, out on that spiraling walk in the wilderness, on those snowy hills, out there stuck in our homes, connecting through Zoom and social media. Still, we find strength in community. Still, we can learn to trust each other to bring us all through the dark. Still, we can learn to light our own way. And when that proves too difficult, we can learn to live by the light others shine on the path for us, and to light their paths in turn. Darkness can result in lasting and real change. And Jan Richardson reminds us in that poem, Blessing for the Longest Night, that this deepest night is the moment that no matter which way you start walking, you are walking toward dawn. We can't live always in the light or always in the darkness. We need them both. The miracle of our universe, of our living, the miracle of everything is found in this precious and precarious balance. We need the joy and the sorrow, the giving and the taking, the light and the dark. When we find ways to embrace this, we can see that there is hope in everything. As the solstice moment comes and passes, and our short days slowly extend, may we remain open to what is possible. May we allow the dark, still quiet of winter to work on us, helping us grow into a deeper appreciation for the cycle of our lives that take us into and out of the light, but never leave us without hope. May each of us live into this winter time with courage, wisdom, and love, letting our lights shine brightly. So may it be. Amen.
Oh, 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 oh. Days lengthen in time and in hope for us all. Behold the light sought as foretold. Born from the dark, the world seeks the light, expanding in love, exploding the night. Cast your light upon your shadow, midwife the night, give birth to the light. Cast your light upon your shadow, just like the star of long ago. The womb of darkness, the birth of light, teach us to hold both in our sight. The embrace of the dark as we gather and learn, the breath of the light as we live what we've learned. Cast your light upon your shadow, midwife the night, give birth to the light. Cast your light upon your shadow, just like the star of long ago. Ah, 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 ah.
Please join us in the words for Extinguishing the Chalice. They can be found on your screen. We extinguish the flame, but may the light of truth, the warmth of love, and the energy of action burn bright in our hearts until we are together again.